Money mindset.
I think that sounds alright.
This is Millennial Money Mindset. If you want the fruits, you need the roots. So we're talking 10 books that blew my mind. So yes, 10 books we're going to go through, and we're going to go through each one. We're going to go through one in a turn, and today we're going to talk about Managing Yourself by Peter Drucker. So stay right to the end, because I'm going to give you one concept from this book that literally changed my life, and yeah, it's super powerful, and hopefully it will have the same impact on you as it did on me. So when I ordered this book, I love reading, as you can probably tell from my bookshelf, and I did a lot of research on like which books should I be reading. I'm a huge fan of Peter Drucker. I've read a number of other books, so Effective Executive, Entrepreneurship and Innovation. He has read Post-Capitalism, and this book, Managing Oneself, and I got it through the post. I was like, what? It's like tiny, what's going on? It's like 60 pages. I was like, I want a refund. But I started reading it, and it's like packed full of wisdom. So it's one of his later books, and so Peter Drucker probably is one of the greatest thinkers of the last 50, 60 years. He basically changed the whole way that management, if you think of the corporations today, corporations get probably a bad press, but he essentially, his thinking and his concepts basically changed the whole way that we work today, and he's quite underrated. So yeah, he's been hugely influential to the way the world works. So this book, Managing Oneself, so I basically got made redundant. I used to be traded gas for a FTSE 100 company, and I was like, oh, what do I do with myself? So I picked up this book, and the tip at the end essentially it kind of gave me a new kind of thought process of where I'm going to head towards. So what was the main takeaway? So we're going to go through the three main things that he talks about. So one of the things that I read about, it was like, where are your strengths? So look at your strengths and essentially double down on those. So after I got made redundant, I kind of had a look at myself. Actually, what am I good at? What are my strengths? And yeah, what am I good at? And then you can double down on those strengths rather than kind of compensating for weaknesses. You should essentially get skills and knowledge that's going to back up what you're already good at. Essentially, you need to look at where you can be world class, because today we're a global world. So you can go on the internet and essentially there's a number of websites like Fiverr or a number of other kind of Upwork is another one, where you can essentially go and hire people from India, or I've hired people from Central America, I've hired people from India to do the job. But essentially you need to be world class at what you do, find a niche and essentially be world class, because we're all competing with everyone, because the internet essentially has created a global world. So you need to be world class at what you do, because we're all competing with each other. And essentially this book is kind of one of the messages that's what it says. So we need to learn to manage ourselves, to learn to manage oneself. So yeah, so before, we didn't need to necessarily know, we didn't have to do this before. So we are now in a knowledge world, we're in a knowledge economy. As I said, we're global. We can now get someone to help you from India or from Central America. But in, say, 50 years ago, you would just maybe be in a town and there'd be one factory, and that would be your job. Or you'd be in a town, and that would be a coal mining town, and that was essentially your job. And you didn't have to think much more than that. You'd just go to work, you'd go to finish school at 16, and that's what you would do, and that would be perfectly normal. And not saying that was wrong, but essentially we've moved on from that. As humans, we've kind of evolved and grown. Our technology has improved. We've got the internet now, which has essentially blown open the doors to new opportunities, new progress, new choices, new things that we can do. So we need to go to work on acquiring new skills and new knowledge that's going to back up what we're already good at. So we need to look at essentially what are our values as well. So every morning you wake up, you look at yourself in the mirror, and you've got to say, actually, what do I personally feel comfortable doing? Like, look, would you go and work at a job, and at the end of the day you'd come back and you look at yourself in the mirror and say, actually, am I doing what I'm saying I'm doing? I'm guilty of this myself. I've worked for corporations myself. I worked for a gas company, which is not necessarily, today might not be seen as the most ethical thing because climate change, etc. It would be maybe more ethical to go and work at a renewable company. But essentially you have to have your values. You have to understand what are your values and understand yourself, and then essentially understanding that so you can actually look at yourself in the mirror or look at yourself at your partner at the end of the day over a meal. So understanding your values. So for me, as I said, after I got made redundant, I looked at my values and I created my own company called Money Tips, which is a coaching company. So we help people make better decisions with their money. We empower them to make decisions for themselves to avoid paying high financial advice fees. We save them money in their pocket, time in their day, and stress from their lives. It covers all this in just a small, so this book really packs a punch, and it literally blew my mind when I first read it, and I was like, wow, this makes a lot of sense. So what is the one tip that I took away, the main concept that I took from this book? And essentially is, where are you making, or where can you make the greatest contribution? So the biggest tip I took was, where can you make the greatest contribution? So look at your strengths, look at where's the demand and what are you passionate about, or where have you got education in the past, and where have you got experience in the past. So in the book, my book Millennial Money Mindset, if you want the fruits you need the roots, I talk about finding your Ikiga, which is your purpose for being, and there's 4 steps you go through to understanding this, so you can find that in the book. So managing yourself. So essentially the main message is managing oneself is the name of the book, so by Peter Drucker, and it's become an owner of your own business. So think of yourself like your CEO, a chief operating officer of your own business today. So step 1 of my 5-step method of money mindset is own yourself first, and this is the most important thing, and one of the takeaways from this book is take ownership of your life, be responsible, be proactive, and pay yourself first like your own business. And this is one of the main key points. So my name's Neil Doig. I'm the author of Millennial Money Mindset, the creator of Football Formation Asset Allocation Game, and the director and CEO of Money Tips, which stands for Tax, Investment, Property, Pension Savings. So hope that was useful. So in the comments, where can you make the greatest contribution? Have you read this book? Have you heard of Peter Drucker? Have you heard of Effective Executive? So what books blew your mind? Is there any books that kind of you read and you're like, wow, that was a massive concept for me? So write in the comments, please like, please subscribe, and please tell one person about Millennial Money Mindset. If you want the fruits, you need the roots.
Money mindset.
I think that sounds alright.